Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're totally deconstructing a rather fascinating methodology called the audio dollars system. We're going to break down its bold claims about building an AI-generated audiobook royalty portfolio entirely from scratch. We'll be looking really closely at the actual math, the mechanics behind it, and the market data to see exactly how this whole thing is designed to work.
Here is a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start off by checking out the market gap. Then we'll literally break down the audio dollars system itself, look at their engineered AI frameworks, dive into the zero-cost pipeline, and then finally wrap things up with a grounded reality check. Let's jump right in.
All right, part one, the audiobook market gap and what they're calling the short-form blind spot.
So, to kick things off, we really have to wrap our heads around the sheer size of the current audiobook market. We are talking about an explosive $14 billion this year alone. That's a B, right? Billion. And it's not just sitting there with steady, quiet growth. The industry is absolutely surging. But what's really interesting to me is how consumer habits have completely changed within that massive market.
And get this, projections show the market skyrocketing to a staggering $93 billion by 2034. But here's where the audio dollars system spots a really specific, almost hidden gap. See, the market right now is totally driven by subscriptions, which means listeners are constantly sampling. Think about when you actually listen to audio. It's usually commuting, walking the dog, maybe doing the dishes, right? These are, 15 to 30-minute pockets of time. Yet most traditional audiobooks out there are massive, 8, 10, 12 hours long. So this system aims literally right at that massive, unfulfilled demand for short-form audio.
I think the whole core philosophy of this blueprint is pretty much perfectly captured in this one quote. One audiobook is a lottery ticket. 50 audiobooks is a portfolio. That kind of hits the nail on the head. It completely shifts your mindset away from trying to write that one massive best-selling hit and focuses entirely on the math, mathematically building a compounding catalog of short audiobooks over time.
Okay, moving on to part two. Let's unpack the actual mechanics of the audio dollar system.
The whole framework breaks down into 3 super streamlined steps. Step 1 is write. You pick a genre and use their specific web-based prompt library so the AI can basically generate a publish-ready script. Step 2 is narrate. You feed that script right into AI text-to-speech tools to produce a totally finished, narrated audio file. No expensive microphone, no renting a studio, none of that. And then step 3 is publish, uploading it straight to the distribution platforms. The really wild claim here is that this pipeline supposedly lets a creator go from absolute zero to a professional, published short audiobook in literally under an hour.
To back up the math behind this, the source material actually lays out a 12-month case study. So in month 1, by publishing 21 short audiobooks, the creator earned about $120. Not exactly quitting your day job money, right? But because those titles stay live, the royalties start to stack. They compound. By month 12, with a catalog of roughly 120 titles, that monthly revenue reportedly grew to somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. Now, to be absolutely clear here, I want to emphasize that these results depend heavily on consistent, high-volume production. This is for sure not magic. It's a sheer volume-based business model.
All right, that brings us to part 3, engineered AI genre frameworks.
Now you might be wondering, can't I just use regular ChatGPT for this? Well, notice the stark contrast here. If you just toss a basic prompt at ChatGPT, you usually get an output that reads like, a cheesy greeting card. But the audio dollars system uses what they call creative production architectures. Basically, these frameworks dictate specific structural phases, emotional sequences, and, this is a really big one, they include banned word lists to strip out that obvious robotic AI phrasing we all recognize. It actually engineers the text with the pauses and pacing needed for something that's going to be spoken out loud.
They apply those engineered frameworks across 16 really specific, hand-picked genres. Just look at the contrast between these niches. On one hand, you've got cottagecore, which really appeals to the whole slow living movement, and then you have nature and wildlife wonders. Both of these naturally fit that crucial 15-minute format. It's like a nice little audio snack. Listeners can actually finish the whole experience in one single sitting. And that is absolutely vital because fully finished audiobooks actually earn significantly better royalty metrics from the platforms.
Take sleep stories or romantasy, for example. The sources make a big point that these 16 genres were not just pulled out of thin air. Listeners in these specific categories are actually already highly accepting of AI narration. Think about it. A calm, soothing, AI-generated voice reading a sleep story? That's a totally proven, accepted format right now. And that completely removes a massive barrier for someone just starting out as a new publisher.
Which naturally leads us into part 4, the zero-cost pipeline.
So the old way of doing this usually meant ponying up maybe $20 a month for AI writing tools, and then probably another 20 or more for AI narration credits just to crank out a handful of books. But this system actually teaches a zero-cost distribution network. It shows you how to publish across multiple massive platforms simultaneously. We're talking Spotify, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Everand, all without paying any monthly hosting fees or weird distribution charges.
Let's ground this in reality for a second and look at Spotify. This platform is incredibly hungry for short-form audio formats. Think about those millions of subscribers just endlessly scrolling, looking for something quick to press play on during their morning commute. The potential listener base is just huge. And by tapping into streaming giants like this, the system relies on the platform's own internal algorithms to push your content to listeners. You don't have to go out and build your own giant social media audience from scratch.
And then you have players like Barnes & Noble, which is another massive platform integrated right into the zero-cost pipeline. Seeing established, totally mainstream retail networks involved here proves that this methodology isn't just relying on some obscure, sketchy website. It actually taps directly into real, proven audiobook retail channels where the buyers already are.
The ultimate goal they are pushing here is a zero-risk setup. The system actually includes this AI testing report, which reveals a completely free, totally unlimited AI model that literally outperformed the paid platforms during blind tests for script writing. So when you combine free writing with free narration and free publishing, well, the only real investment required to test this whole model out is just your time.
Okay, let's bring it all home with Part 5, Reality Check, and our verdict.
Let's be totally objective here and weigh the actual pros against the hard limitations. On the pro side, it genuinely does cost $0 to start, which is rare, and those 16 engineered frameworks offer some really solid structure. But the limitations are strict, really strict. This model absolutely demands massive publishing volume. If you aren't willing to sit down and publish 50 or more titles, this whole thing probably isn't going to work for you. Furthermore, this pipeline explicitly excludes Amazon's Audible platform. It focuses entirely on those broader alternative subscription networks instead.
So who is this actually for? The review points out that the ideal users are side hustlers who are looking for a more passive model over time, Amazon KDP publishers, meaning folks doing Kindle Direct Publishing, who already get the whole catalog building concept, and just curious beginners. But please hear this warning. This is not some fast cash injection or get-rich-quick scheme. It is a slow, steady, compounding catalog business.
The barrier to entry for the core system is surprisingly accessible. It's a $17 one-time payment, and it comes with a 14-day guarantee that actually has a rather unique policy attached to it. If a user asks for a refund, they get to keep any of the audiobooks they created, plus whatever royalties those titles generate. It's an interesting structure, clearly designed to just encourage people to take the plunge and test the pipeline out for themselves.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. We have unpacked that $14 billion market gap, peeked behind the curtain of those AI frameworks, and looked hard at the volume-based math. The audiobook landscape is undeniably shifting. It's moving incredibly fast toward this bite-size, subscription-based style of listening. So I will leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on based on all the data we've seen today. Is the short-form audio boom gonna be your next portfolio? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.